Welcome to the Freedom Education Movement Workshop, Module 2, and this is all about deschooling, rethink, refine, and redo. So I just want to share this picture. I love this picture. Actually, I kind of hate the picture, but it's such a good representation of what school does to a lot of kids. Now, this isn't every school and every kid, but for the most part, this is what's happening. So the point of and the goal of deschooling is basically to rewind and reverse. And so if I could make this into a graphic, or a video, I would actually rewind it so that the kids were going back through and back to the colorful world, because that is what we want to create for our kids. We don't want to do the same thing that schools are doing to our kids. That's why we have to deschool, and why, if you've done any research in a lot of the homeschooling groups, you will see this term, and not a lot of people understand what it is, or they see that word deschooling and they're like, what? I'm just going to let my kid do whatever they want? And that's really not what it's about. So deschooling is taking the time to transition from the traditional thinking, to take that time and learn how to rewrite that systematic programming that you know, but you already don't trust about public education, and using that time to become empowered and confident in homeschooling. So I want you to take a minute, and if you don't have anything to write with, you can pause this and go get something to write with, or you can use your notepad on your laptop or your phone, whatever you're using. And I want you to write some things that you were told about public school or about school in general education that you now know is wrong. Like, you have to get a diploma to make it in life, a public school diploma, where you have to go to college to make money, those kind of things. So think about things that you were told about school, or that you've just kind of thought from your own experiences, and write those down. And I'm going to give you a minute. You can go ahead and pause this while you're doing that, because I'm not going to take too long, and then I'm going to move on. Okay, so these are some of the common myths with education. You'll never succeed without a high school diploma. You can't go to college with a homeschool diploma, and you have to go to college to get a good paying job. Kids need to be exposed to public school issues, and they have to learn how to deal with bullies in order to be prepared with life. And I really hate that concept, that we should just let our kids deal with bullies because they're going to have to deal with bullies in life. You can teach your kids how to deal with that without making them be exposed to that. It's like saying, oh, we should abuse our kids so they know how to deal with an abusive spouse. That's garbage. But anyway, that's just my personal view. You don't have to agree with me. They can't be in extracurricular activities. Of course, that's not true, because we know that kids can be involved in extracurricular activities. Depending on how you enroll in your homeschool, kids could still be involved in the school activities, or there's a lot of opportunities outside of schools. You can't school without standard curriculum. Okay, that is absolutely a myth, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. There are certain things kids have to learn in a certain age and grade. So that just goes back to that whole kids need to learn this in first grade, and they have to learn this in second grade, and this in third grade. And that is bogus, because there are plenty of kids, you know what, that come over here and they're in high school and they've never even been to school. And guess what? They outperform some of our kids who've been in school all through elementary and middle school. Or I've met people who come in to the U.S. as adults. They've never been in school ever in some of the countries that they come from. And they are outperforming our kids. And they come with no English. They didn't take English for 12 years or math for 12 years, and they still make it because they have the mindset and the determination. So honestly, we can't say that, oh, well, they have to learn this at a certain grade, because there are plenty of people that are making it in life that didn't learn anything as far as what we teach in our schools. So, my last thing that I have at the bottom is that academic, which when I say academic success, I mean like their grades and GPA equals future success. And honestly, there are a lot of kids that I have worked with through the years at the, especially at the high school level, who were not performing well and went on to just go take a GED, passed it, and are outperforming again. Some of our kids that graduated in honors. When I was actually in school in the gifted program, there were half of the kids that were the straight A perfect, everything, gifted kids. And then there was the other half of kids, and they all had bad grades. They all struggled. Smart kids. School wasn't built for these kids. I was kind of in the middle. Depended on my mood, the class. I don't know. I was interesting. I didn't really fit in either category. But I can tell you that academic success does not always equal future success. And that was one of the biggest lies, other than the college. I think college is probably, again, one of the other one. And testing. Oh, testing does not help. Okay, so we've got lots of myths. You've probably got myths written down. I want you to rethink. We're going to rethink everything that we've been told. So we just went over all these things that we've been told about education and how all those things are the way it has to be. And it's not the way it has to be. So we're going to have to rewrite our story. We're going to have to rethink. What is the ultimate goal we hope to gain through education for our kids? For society, they really say, we need to raise functioning citizens. Okay? For me, I think my ultimate goal is to raise confident kids who are compassionate and kind, because then those people, those kids that are confident and compassionate and kind will become citizens who are functioning and who know how to work, have good work ethic, who know how to, figure out the skills they need, or, go learn the skills they need to learn. We say in the schools, exposure to information is how kids learn. But exposure to information is not education unless we get it to stick. Until we start creating environments where kids can learn, and experiences where they can learn, where they find meaning and connection with that content, then all that time that we spend and all that energy we spend exposing them to this information day in and day out, it doesn't matter if it's public, private, home, if we just keep exposing them, lecturing them to just random information, all that time is wasted if we don't get it connected and if we don't get it to stick. Academics don't mean a thing either if kids can't function because they don't have motivation, because they have so much fear of failure, because they struggle with anxiety, depression, or worse, which is why we have to make that flip and think that kids' hearts and minds are first and then academics second. See, I believe that academics won't matter if a child doesn't believe in who they are and if they don't have a goal or a vision for the future. What good is it doing to graduate kids and to say, oh, look, we have these really high graduation rates. I can't even say that word today. And if we have all these kids graduating, if they are also graduating with depression, if they're low functioning because they have so much anxiety, because they're suicidal, what good does it do if we pass them because they could pass the test, but they don't even know what they want to do in life? We have to change that. We have to give these kids skills and resources to explore their interest. And then we have to find ways to connect those interests to academic learning. Memories, okay, so the science says, this is back to my neuroscience stuff. So the science says in our brains, we have these neurons, these neural pathways, okay? That's where memories are created and stored. Memories are made from emotion and motions and experiences that create emotions. Okay, so think about your most favorite memory from school. I guarantee you it's not going to be sitting in class learning algebraic equations. Okay, something happened that created an emotion in you, or something happened, you had to move really quickly, or you had to do some kind of movement with it, or you had this experience that gave you an emotion. Okay, that is why you remember that. If we create environments where that happens more, then we're going to have kids who can retain those academics and that information that we're trying to show them. And we can also, in the same way, give them the same skills to remember positive things about themselves, to give them tools to empower themselves. Okay, there's so many things that we can do, but we have to rethink the way we've been doing it. The next thing we have to do is to refine. So refine means to take out something, to remove things that are not good, to make improvements upon that. Okay, so think about what elements of traditional education, of their models and systems, need to change. What can we change? So for me, and for most homeschooling families, the curriculum, standardized test, having grades and GPAs, and saying that those are the only indicators for our students' academic success or their future success. We have to refine that. We also have to refine things like having a 6 to 8 hour day. Kids don't have to be in school 6 to 8 hours a day. They don't have to be sitting learning for 6 to 8 hours a day. The whole grade level, having kids doing work based on a singular grade level based on their age. That has to change. Standardized tests, only measuring kids learning through a standardized test has got to go. Okay? Busy work, having kids just do busy work just to take up time. They don't need that. They don't need busy work. They might need practice work. They might need skill work, but busy work, no. We have to refine also putting our kids' hearts and minds and making that a priority. Learning will happen naturally when kids are confident and when they are doing something they're interested in. If a kid is interested in cars, you know what you could teach them about cars? You could teach them math, science, history. You could teach them everything, that all those core skills around cars and mechanics. If you have kids that love animals, you can teach all those core skills. They don't need information, they need skills. That's what kids need. You can teach those skills around their interest. Okay, so we've talked about rethinking the way we do education, refining how we view it, and now we're going to have to redo it, okay? So what kind of learning environment can you create? Okay, we don't want to copy and paste public school at home. We're going to have to redo the way we do that. Okay, you're going to have to redo that daily structure, redo the concept of busy work or conforming. You're going to have to focus on that mental health piece and their mindset and their self-esteem. Those are all things that you can redo. That's part of the whole goal of the freedom education movement, is to help parents redo. Once you rethink, once you're able to refine what education looks like to you, then you can redo it. You're on a journey. You're on the right path. You can do this. So deschooling. Deschooling is what takes all this rethink, refine, redo. Deschooling is the time that you take to do that. Like I said in the beginning, even when we want to change, our human nature is to default back to what's familiar, so that's why it's so important to take this time to decompress and disconnect from everything we've known, everything we've been told, and everything we've experienced personally with education. We need to do that as parents. And if our kids, especially if our kids have already been in the education system, they need that time too. Parents need time to connect. If your kids have been in the school system, then they've been away from you for most of the day. So this is a great time to connect with your kid emotionally and academically even more. We all have a connection with our kids, but this time allows you to go even deeper. You need time to process as a parent, to process the responsibility of taking on this education component for your kids, because you do know that it's going to affect their life and their future. And it's a lot to process and take in, again, which is why I'm doing this, because I know that it's hard and I know it's scary and I know it's overwhelming, but you can do it. And taking the time to process through this will help you not jump right in and get overwhelmed when things aren't working, and jump right in and not know where to turn when you don't know what to do or you don't know if something's working or not. You need this time to deschool, to review all this information, review all the types of curriculum, all the systems, all the stuff that I'm going over in this workshop. You need that time to dig deeper into all of these concepts, which actually I'm going to have a deeper coaching program for all of this. You need time to organize your resources. So as you're going through and trying to figure all this out, you need time to gather, organize your life, organize your schedule, organize how you're going to do this. You need time to plan. A lot of parents jump in, they think they have to plan and get stuff for the whole year and buy all this curriculum, and you don't. You can plan for a little bit and see if it works, so that you don't want to plan out everything so long, because you need that time to adjust as you're going. But you can make some goals, like, you can sit down and write some goals for the year. By 3 months, I want to start trying this curriculum. At 6 months, I want to, have a check to see what my kids learned. There's a lot of things that you can do to plan. And just like you need that time to deschool and separate from that traditional mindset and system thinking, kids need that too. They need to decompress. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my kids wanted to go back to school, and he's already wanting to come back home. He's doing great. He's been unschooled for 2 years. He's making the top grades in his classes, but the days are long. He's exhausted, and he's not even struggling. Like, he just goes, school's a breeze. He's one of those kids. It's just a breeze. He's not being bullied. He's not dealing with anything other than it's just a long day for him. And so kids need that time to decompress if they've just been pushed and pushed and pushed. And imagine if your kid's been dealing with bullying or dealing with any kind of other trauma at life or at school, they're going to need some time to just kind of like readjust. When they go to school, they're told what to do all day long, what to do, how to walk, what to think, everything that they do throughout their day, their volume is controlled. So they need to decompress and think, how do I manage myself? How do I control myself? Kids need time to relax. If their identity has been tied to their academic success or their academic failures, they need to learn how to relax and learn that they're going to be able to have a new learning experience that isn't going to tie who they are simply to grades, but it's really going to be about their accomplishments, about their attempts, about their personal gains that are measured against themselves and not against other people in that class who maybe aren't struggling like they are, who maybe have a totally different life experience than they do. Maybe they have more exposure to whatever that information is. They're not going to be compared. So these kids need to learn how to embrace this new way of thinking that they're getting judged against themselves and their own ability at this point and their own attempt to learn, and that they're going to be evaluated and looked at by you on what they're trying, on their accomplishments, and not nitpicked for every little thing that they do wrong. Okay, kids need time to explore. Some of these kids don't even know what they're interested in. Like they've just kind of been told maybe they play video games. They know they're interested in that. But I mean, as far as topics that they could explore for learning, events locally, maybe they don't even know what goes on in their town, things that they're interested in that they could pour themselves into to learn about. So kids need time to explore and kind of figure out what they want to learn about and what they want to be engaged with. Kids need time to heal. Again, this is so important. If you've got kids who've been in the school system being bullied or dealing with trauma at home or at school or in life, kids just need time. We tell kids, get over it, get over it, get over it. And that's why the adult self-help industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, is because we were told as kids, get over it, pray more, just deal with it, suck it up. We can't do that. We have to give them tools. Yeah, they can deal with it. Let's tell them how to deal with it. Don't tell them deal with it. Tell them pray about it. Let's tell them how to pray, meditate, how to think and process. There's so much more to those words that we tell kids to do, and we don't tell them how to do it. And I put connect at the bottom here. I know I put it at the top for parents because I feel like parents, we have already connected to our kids. Whether they're connected to us or not, we're connected to our kids. We love our kids. We're connected even when they cut off that connection. For kids, they need a little more time to reconnect with us, especially if they're at that like preteen, teenager age where they don't think they need anybody. Okay, so it's going to take them a little more time to really trust that you're doing this for them, to trust that this isn't a trap or a joke, to trust that this is really everything that you want it to be for them and for their sake, and that you want to meet their needs and not just some societal, oh, well, society says you have to do it this way, and this is why you're going to do it, because everybody says you have to do it this way. Like, they need to see that you're committed and that you are in this for them. And when you create those connections, which we'll talk about in the connected learning, when you start creating those connections with the kids, and you can do this during that deschooling time, focus on those connections. Those kids will come and reconnect. I'm telling you, I have a middle schooler. I have a kid, she's 17 now. In middle school, I lost her. She was so far gone, I had to fight. I had to fight for her life. And it was a battle. Her mind was gone, mixed up with an older boy and friends that were no good. And I could have just given up because she made me feel insane sometimes. But I fought for that kid. And we went on the road. I was lucky. I was able to kind of remove her from a lot of that influence. And we went on the road and we connected. And we have the most amazing relationship. She's 17. I'm having a great, fantastic relationship with her. And I wouldn't change that. I have that with all my kids. But I didn't think I was going to be able to have that with her. I thought I had lost it. It can happen. You can reconnect if you've lost that connection, or if it's been disconnected. And you can connect even deeper with all your kids, or your one kid, however many kids you have. Okay? So deschooling is super, super important to take that time to do that. Okay, so my first tip for deschooling is to pick a time frame and make a promise to yourself to at least take that time to disconnect, decompress, rethink, refine, and work towards redoing. Okay, so promise yourself maybe you can only think 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Some people it takes longer, some people it takes less time. Depending on how old your kids are, they say you need a month for every year that they've been in public school. So I know that that's a lot for some people. I know it's really hard to imagine pulling your kid out of school and then, quote unquote, doing nothing for weeks or months. Okay, but let me assure you that you're not doing nothing. Okay, you're simply not doing what they're doing in schools. But the reason you've pulled your kid out of school, or you're thinking about pulling your kid out of school, is because what they're doing there isn't working. Okay, so just because you're doing it differently doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean that you're going to hurt your kid. Think about the pandemic, okay? How many months did our kids get pulled out last year? Months and months they were pulled out. Some of them are doing virtual school this year, but think about all that time, and maybe they did lose time because we were waiting for the public school to create something at home for them. Okay, and it wasn't very viable. Whatever they did last year wasn't very viable for a lot of kids, or whenever you're watching this, might be 2 years ago. So deschooling is like stopping a bad habit or trying to go on a diet. Even for me, the most out-of-the-box free spirit person, even I struggle because I know what everybody thinks school should look like. But what people don't know is what my kids need and what works for my kids. Everybody wants to say, well, you have to do it like the public school because that's what kids need. Maybe that's what some kids need. Some kids do great in public school. Some kids need to be in public school. But not my kids. Not every kid needs to be there. And so what they don't know is that the science shows that the methods that they're doing in school is not working. Remember, the neuroscience, I'm going to go over this so much. The neurons and the neural pathways in our brains, the way they remember things is through motion and emotion and experiences that are impactful. Okay? Simply exposing day after day, just throwing information out there that doesn't connect. It may work for a little bit. They might have some short-term memory, but it's not going to stick and stay in our kids' brains. Think about it. Think back to 3rd grade. Do you remember what you did in 3rd grade? I don't remember what I did in 3rd grade. I don't remember what I did in 7th grade. You know what I can tell you about in 7th grade, between 7th and 8th grade, and 8th and 9th grade? I can tell you about all kinds of things that I did and experienced at summer camp. 1 week of camp. And I can tell you multiple things that I felt and experienced at those summer camps. I can't tell you anything at school, except maybe being bullied. I can remember all the bad stuff. But academically, no. Because those things didn't stick with me. What stuck with me were the meaningful experiences that I was connected to. Okay? So, tell people that they don't know your kid, and what works for some people doesn't work for other people. So you don't have to worry about them. You can deschool and it will be okay. Another reason why it's really, really important to connect with other like-minded people, because they will remind you that it's okay. People have done it. Get in these groups. Read about these unschoolers who unschooled for years, who are getting into colleges when some of our public high school graduates can't get into college. Think about these kids who've never done traditional testing, traditional work, and they are surpassing and excelling beyond a lot of these traditional kids. Okay? Listen to their stories. Go find them. I will have tons of links and resources to the pages that I like to follow and things like that. And I promise it will encourage you. Tip number 2, get out of the house. Yes. Okay, I know sometimes it's not possible. You can't get out every single day. But even if you're limited on like places to go away from the house, just get outside. Like go for walks, explore with your kids, visit people. Connect with other homeschooling families or co-ops. But if you sit at home all day, it'll kind of recreate that being in the school in the classroom environment, and it'll make it really hard for you to really disconnect from that, and it will make the day go by a lot longer. So it seems like you're not doing anything anytime. You're just sitting at home doing nothing. You don't want it to be like that. So find ways to get out of the house, to go explore, to go interact with people, to do things. I promise it will make a difference during this season. And my third tip for this workshop, I have lots more that we'll go over in the Facebook groups and the coaching group, but for this workshop, my third tip is create opportunities for connecting and bonding. Okay, so, I will harp on this forever. It's so important to connect with people that understand. And also for you to connect with your kid and your kid to connect with you. If your kid, especially if your kids have been in school, you've had such a limited amount of time, and maybe in the afternoons you spend time helping them with homework or fighting them with homework or pretending that homework isn't a thing and ignoring it. That's what I do. I'm like, nope, I don't do homework. You go to school to do school. When you're home with me, when my kids are in school, that's how it is. And I'll tell them that at the school. Unless they want to practice, they can do practice stuff. But I'm not going to fight my kids in the afternoons when they're in the schools and in classrooms. And so when they're home, you have to try to learn how to bond with your kid again, like cook food together, clean together, but make it fun. Give them things to do that you maybe couldn't do together when they were in school. Or maybe, maybe you're working and you're trying to figure out how they're going to homeschool. And so you're going to have to create something at home at night to bond with them. Maybe they're doing something different during the day. That's a whole nother topic. We'll be talking about that in the groups. But use this time to learn something that the kids are interested in. So my boys are into video games. I really don't care about video games. But what they love is when they can show me how to play their video game. They love it. They love to teach me how to use those remote controls. I only remember Mario World or original Mario and Tetris. Okay, that's all I know. I like those remote controls. These remote controls are a hot mess. But the kids love to teach me that. Maybe you have a kid that loves to draw. Have them show you how to draw something, or just color with them. Or maybe they like to fish. Go fishing with them. Maybe they play a sport and you can have them show you their favorite move or explain to you the different positions. There's all kinds of things. Make TikToks with them. So many kids love to make TikTok videos. There's just so many things that you can do with your kids that maybe you haven't had the time to do, and maybe you're not really that interested in it, but it's a great bonding opportunity, and it will make them feel like you are really invested in them and care about them and really want to know what's important. And the more that they feel that, the more that they're going to open up to you about, hey, I'm really interested in learning about this, or can you help me do this? Instead of feeling like everything between the parent and child interaction is always about getting in trouble or not doing something. Create opportunities for them to have more positive memories with you, and you'll create a more positive bond with them. I promise it will work. Might take a while for some kids, it takes longer, but it really will make a difference. And they might think you're weird and they might not take you seriously, but I promise they'll open up. So again, I just want to encourage you. You've got this, guys. You can do this. You can create that child-centered educational experience that's going to lead them to have a successful life. You can do this at home. You've got to empower yourself first, and then you're going to be able to empower your kid, okay? Believe in yourself. Take this time to deschool for yourself and for your kid. It's important for both of you. I will have more coaching on this. I will have more information in the Facebook group and on the website. If you're interested, I will have resources that I've used while I was going through deschooling. And if you need any more help with this, you can reach out. I am doing coaching on this, but I want to help you guys do this. Okay? So now we're ready to go to Module 3, which is Connected Teaching and Learning. And that's going to be all about creating an interest-led learning environment. Okay, so you're going to do that, learn how to take interest and also infuse and incorporate that positive mindset and healthy self-esteem components, because you want to continue to continue to create the bond between you and your kid and create that bond between your kid and learning. Okay, so when the heart and mind are in a good place, learning can happen more effectively and more efficiently. I promise. You can fight your kid to learn things they're not interested in, and you're going to fight. Or you can connect with your kid and find out what they're interested in and get them to learn, and they won't even realize what they're doing, and they'll be excited about it. And you can do that for them. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. Hang in there, and I'll see you at Workshop 3.